Madam Clerk, since we don't have a quorum, can we go ahead and postpone it till if and when we do?
Gabe Jones just called, she's running late. She called Todd and he's in Phoenix. So,
She called Todd. Yeah, Todd. Okay.
Clark, I talked to him a couple times. He didn't tell me
He wasn't, Sean?
he wasn't gonna be here.
What, Melissa? Did you write the comments about this page because? For the reminders. Appreciate it. Policy about policies. We supposed to have writing utensils? Didn't you want me to write something? Do I just take, or I just take a page or sign it? Good evening. We're going to go ahead and get started with the policy committee. We do have a quorum with myself and Director Jones, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Call this meeting to order of the policy committee for Thursday, May 10th, 2018. We're going to start with a public opportunity to discuss matters of public interest within the committee's scope of influence, including items on or not on the agenda. Anyone in the audience wanting to address this illustrious committee? Hearing none, seeing none, we'll move on to the next item. That's the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I so move.
So moved, and I second it. Please call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Director Jones
Aye.
and Director Gould.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. I see Director Clark's joined us, so Director Clark, come right on up. Join us if you would. Next item on the agenda is a policy. We have one action item. We've already taken care of the action item, right?
There are no action items, just the presentation.
Okay, so that we just have the presentation item with the policy development and implementation policy. Yes, I said that. The policy development and implementation policy. So a policy about policy.
Yeah.
HR Manager Maddox, you have the floor.
Good evening, directors, Chief Casantini. I'm Melissa Maddox, the HR manager. And as you said, it's somewhat of a policy on policies. Tonight we bring you, it's a new policy, number 02.017.01, called the Policy Development and Implementation Policy. The purpose of the policy is just to clearly define the process and procedures for the development and revision of policies. Believe it or not, it is somewhat of a complicated process, working with different division managers and getting the policies done in a timely manner. The Human Resources Division coordinates the development, revision, and review of all policies. And like I said, we work closely with all the division managers to try to review, rewrite, revise any existing policies or write new policies that may come up when we identify a need for one. This policy on policies will help the managers to get started. We could go over the policy with them and say, here's the guidelines, here's what you need to do. They can go off, do what they need to do, and then come back to HR and we can work through it together. So, and I'd also like to take this opportunity to acknowledge Leslie Miller. She's an HR specialist with Metro Fire. She's been here for 18 years. She's worked in 5 different divisions, including fleet, facilities, finance, community services, everywhere. So now we're lucky enough to have her in HR. And a lot of times I stand up here and present these policies to you, but I don't write them all the time. Leslie wrote this policy. She's worked on it for a long time, so I wanted to take the time to acknowledge that. She also manages the policy program. So she's the one that is working with the managers directly, helping them develop their policies and rewrite the policies. And she does a great job at it. So I just wanted to acknowledge her tonight. So as you know, this is an administrative policy. It doesn't need to be approved or referred to the full board, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. You said you had 8 pages.
Thank you. Members of the committee, go ahead, Director Jones. Director Clark, anything?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, Mr. Chair.
Melissa, I just have one question. Relative to this particular policy, how frequently will we revisit the policy about policies? What's the policy on the review of this policy about policies?
Our general review, according to this policy, would be 5 years, and that just means we would do a review of the existing policies to make sure they're still legally sound, they don't need to be updated. Once we get through the majority of our policies and get them in this format that Leslie is making sure that every policy is consistent and formatted properly, then it will be easier, and I think a 5-year review would be reasonable, but I'm more than willing to take your recommendation. Other policies obviously will be updated as needed.
Yep.
As soon as we identify a need that something's changed, something comes up, a new law comes out, then those would take priority over the review. So we figured 5 years would give us enough time to kind of space those out a little bit.
Good. Okay. Well, as much fun as we've had reviewing a policy about policy and getting an update on the policy of review, I appreciate it. Since there's no action, any other comments or questions from members of the committee?
No, sir.
I have none, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it
Thank you.
very much. Appreciate it. This committee does not have a next meeting scheduled. We typically do those after consultation with the board clerk and other individuals. So at this point, we have no agenda or assigned date for the next policy committee. So I appreciate it and thank you very much. We'll now close this policy committee meeting. Thank you.
My apologies for being a little late here.